Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Self-Care Session. My name is Stephanie Burton, and this is Project Glow. Tonight's topic is all about how to turn your pain into power. Now, if you are on social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, you will have heard one particular quote a lot of times: when life hands you lemons, you just make lemonade. Now, you've probably heard that in a couple of different guises: how to turn pain into power, an obstacle into an opportunity. There are a million different ways of saying how to actually activate resilience in your system, because that's really what we're talking about here tonight. The structure and the science and the nitty-gritty of resilience, because at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about. How do you know how to actually lean into an obstacle? How do you know how to keep your head above the water while you're going through really difficult times? A lot of people like to think that it's actually just about being stoic, or just about, nose to the grindstone, stiff upper lip. But a lot of the times that'll end you up in a lot of denial, and also just, you're repressing those feelings a lot of the time. So we're not talking about denial here. We're not giving you the how to just stuff your feelings down, because at the end of the day, your body is going to express that somewhere along the way in terms of sleep problems, eating problems. Most of the time, however, when we go through really difficult times, our natural way of coping with them is really just to overcome the tension. Most people just want to overcome the tension, that icky feeling that something really difficult has come into your life and you're now starting to feel really, really uncomfortable about it. And most people have a very well ingrained habit, and we all have it, this is nothing to be ashamed of then wanting to alleviate that tension by overeating or over shopping or alcohol or prescription medication, or just doing something to excess, because most of us don't like feeling discomfort. But really, real resilience comes from being able to lean into the discomfort and actually being in a position in your life where you see that the obstacles that are in your life, and there may be little ones or really, really big ones, that all the obstacles in your life, all the challenges actually are here to grow you. So some of the more spiritual inclined people on social media will talk a lot about that you're on a journey, that, some people like to say that it's predestined. Some people like to say that you have a destiny. So when you look at it from the perspective of having a destiny, then the challenges in your life are there to grow you to that destiny, if you like. Because most people are in that headspace where they think challenges and obstacles are just inconveniences. They're like, life is all about being happy and being super upbeat all the time and being cheerful. And yeah, the terrible obstacles, they're just anomalies. They're just there to make me miserable. They're just there to spoil the fun. But that's not really the truth, is it? Obstacles are here to grow and guide you to your greatness. That's the bottom line of what I'm delivering to you tonight. If you take away nothing else, take away this. Obstacles are here. Obstacles and challenges are in your life to grow and guide you towards your greatness. Now, some of you might be saying, okay, I can kind of see that this is growing me and this is guiding me. But what about really severe illness? What about really difficult, what about a redundancy or a divorce, or, really, really, really tough situations? And I guarantee you that statement and that universal law stays the same. No matter whether your challenge is really small or really large, it has come here to grow and guide you and stretch you and make you uncomfortable enough for you to really dip down into your resilience bucket and haul out a great big amount of creativity and the strength to overcome what you're going through. But of course, that all depends on your mindset. You know, some people are naturally inclined to go, oh, this isn't the problem, we'll just lean in and overcome it. But that's not really the case for most of us. Most of us have to learn. Most of us really have to learn and practice how to see the blessing in disguise when these obstacles come, because our mind really isn't conditioned or trained to see the blessing in disguise. Because actually what nobody really tells us is that we have a two-system reality, if you like, that there's your head, which is really concerned about keeping you safe. A lot of people talk about the ego. I'm not one of those people that goes ego bashing at all. Your ego is a very specific and precise part of who you are. It houses your personality. It looks after you. It makes sure that you don't cross the road when there's traffic or put your hand into a fire. Your ego is there to keep you safe. But it is a little trigger happy thing, and therefore it can go overboard and take its job really, really seriously a lot of the time. That's not the problem, though. The idea that you can leave your ego behind, or squash your ego, or transcend your ego, first of all, that's rubbish. And second of all, why would you? Why would you get rid of something that's really trying to keep you safe? But if that is the only system that you're driving, then you're in trouble, because there's a second system, your heart, your soul, because you are a spiritual being and a human being. So you are both an animal brain, and because of the way that evolution has happened, there's a very evolutionary elemental part of you, and that is concerned with getting your way and making sure that you keep safe and all of those good things. And then there's your soul that already knows that it's connected everything, that everything is on its way, that you're going to be okay. And most people that I speak to, when we really start talking about it and tap into it, they are aware actually that there's two very different things. You know, there's kind of like the place that goes into fear and anxiety and overwhelm. Well, that's your headspace. That is the part of you that goes, oh no, this is going to be bad, this is going to be terrible. And then there's your heart space that goes, it's going to be okay, everything's on track. You know, you are going to just be fine, absolutely fine. So the question here is why do some people manage to tap into that space? And a lot of people say that they do manage to feel that space occasionally when they meditate, or when they do breathing exercises, or when they go, for a yoga session. But most people don't really stay there for very long. Most of us human beings only have access to that head part. And although that's very important, you need to be absolutely clear in your head-heart connection. So not only do you need this part that figures it all out and keeps you safe, but then you need this bit, your heart space, your soul space, that already kind of like goes and says, okay, that sounds great, that sounds like a plan, I'm just going to take a really big breath. Most human beings have never ever been taught how to feel their heart, how to activate their heart-head connection, their soul space. Most people have never ever ever felt what it feels like to be in that place. And even worse is nobody's ever taught you how to actually keep that gate open and be in that heart space, in that deeply connected knowingness, at the same time, because actually it isn't a question of one or the other. I want you to imagine that you're watching TV and on your lap is your laptop, and there's one screen on the TV and there's one screen on the laptop. Now, unless you've managed to evolve yourself into a place where you can like use one eye for the one screen and one for the other, it is absolutely normal that you would either be in the one or the other, watching the one or the other. So it's absolutely normal that you kind of flip-flop or move between them. But what really is important is while you're sitting on the couch and you know that you can only concentrate on one at the same time, you have an understanding that both the screen on your lap as well as the screen in front of you, they're both relevant. So the idea isn't to just be in the ego or just be in the heart. You're both systems, and the actual power of true resilience comes from that middle space We're not saying, you know, just walk around and go, oh, everything is perfect, everything is lovely, oh, you know, I'm going to hug a tree. You've gone too far. And we're not just saying, you know, just stay in the fact, just stay in the place where you're angry and frustrated and overwhelmed, because that's kind of like your disaster management team, because that'll absolutely erode your body and it'll drive you to the brink of wanting to give up. It's the balance between your head and your heart. But here's the issue. You need to learn how to activate that head-heart connection. And you need to be able to be taught the tools that will keep it open all the time. Because we don't just want you to occasionally tap into that place where you can see that your obstacle is the right obstacle, it's come at the right time, you have the right support, you're on the way to your greatness, and this is guiding and growing you towards that. Because that's really, at the end of the day, when your head and your heart is connected and your heart is completely opened. And forgive me if I say the idea that you can just will your heart open, I disagree with that, because you need a real structure to get there by asking questions. A lot of people can be there just by kind of like getting into really deep states of meditation. But when you're in meditation, you're probably not facing the car crash or the relationship crash or the money disaster, you know, then you're in that meditation space. The idea is that once your head and heart is fully connected, you can stand in the disaster and be totally awake and aware and really taking ownership of the situation, as well as knowing that the obstacle has come to stretch you, to grow you, to guide you, and that it's actually totally on track. You're totally supported, and But that needs to be taught. You need to learn that. I have yet to meet somebody that can actually go into that space really genuinely, authentically, and absolutely understand that you know, whatever's happening is actually always, no matter how disastrous it is, it's always happening for your highest good. All right. I'm going to take you through the steps, because there are steps to get you there. I'm going to just show you the head to heart connection. This is it. I'm going to post it. There is an actual sequence to it, and each one of them have very specific and precise purposes. So as I go through them, don't poo-poo any one of them, because each one of them are really super important. So we start off with breath. Now, if you're rolling your eyes and you're going, oh, I've heard this a million times before, please just give it another 2 minutes of your time. Your breathing is the first thing that goes absolutely whoopsie daisy when you're facing a really big obstacle. It'll go like this. You'll go up into your shoulders, your diaphragm will go all tense, and as a result, it will mess with all of the biochemistry in your body. Now, it's going to mess with it for a very specific reason, okay? Because your body is saying, the chemicals in your body is saying to your mind, we have got to get the heck out of here. Well, it's fight, flight, freeze, or, you know, phone your best friend and bitch about it. So there's fight, flight, freeze, and there's also subdue. Those are the kind of like panic messages that your body is getting. And that is completely right, because there needs to be both. There needs to be your head, which says, this isn't a safe situation. I need to check whether this is dangerous for me and I need to get out of here. And your heart needs to be activated at the same time that says, okay, let's not go over the top here though, because this is actually happening for a very good reason. And I'm completely supported. I'm completely guided. This is completely on time. And this is happening at exactly the right moment to give me exactly the thing I need to elevate myself to my next level of growth. Okay, so the breath. I don't care what you do, as long as your in-breath is equal as your out-breath. So from now on, the first thing that you're going to do, whether it's a nasty text from your ex, a difficult email for your job, your spouse saying or doing something that's getting you all triggered, I want you to just close your mouth and breathe in and out through your nose. If you need to visualize something, if you need to say a mantra in your head, there are many, many of them. Go find yourself one. But I want you to breathe equal in and out, because that alone already takes the first step down into your heart space, away from your very, very overexcited nervous system. We're going to cut that nervous system a whole lot of slack, because it's doing what it's meant to do. It's meant to keep you safe, but it goes overboard a lot of the times. 99% of the times, when a text message comes in, your life is not endangered. Okay, but it always mobilizes absolutely everything. I don't know. You can type in the comments below what kind of reaction you get. For me, it's stomach, and I get really hot, and kind of my breathing goes a bit shallow, and I can feel something squeezing my throat. That's my trigger, that my nervous system is on board. Woohoo! But it's going a bit overboard. So I immediately go into breath, because breathing, nothing happens without your breath being in a state of regulation, and it just gives it a space, because most human beings, they get that whoosh of those chemicals, and then they immediately want to react. Now, if somebody's threatening your life, of course, that's a good idea. But 99% of the times, when somebody cuts you up in traffic, or sends you a nasty text, or, I don't know, says something to insult you, your life is not at stake. And actually, reaction is the worst thing you can do, because it just causes a great big whopping mess. And that's not what we want to do. We want to keep you safe, but we also want to keep you calm and steady, so that you can actually make the best decision and move on as fast as possible. Okay, step 2 is you need to get yourself in a state of gratitude. That's the second step. So 1 is breath. I want you to imagine a staircase. You're taking a staircase from the very hot and overexcited room of your head. First step, breathe. Second step, gratitude. Now, you probably say, I don't want to be grateful in that moment. And that's exactly why you need to do it. Because your brain is going to be telling you that right now, everything is going wrong, because that's how your brain works. It has to tell you everything is going wrong to mobilize all of those chemicals to make you run as fast as you can, or fight, or flee, or subdue. But really what we need to do is just come into a nice even space. I'm going to turn the camera a little bit. Can you see my yin and yang sign? That is the ultimate law of life, that at any moment in your life, there is equal light and dark, equal benefit and drawback, equal challenge and support. And that's actually why gratitude is so important. Because while you're swimming in the dark side of the yin and yang and going, it's dark, it's so dark, it's only dark, there will only ever be darkness, gratitude gets you back into that middle space. So while you're in the darkness going, this is terrible, oh my God, I'm freaking out, gratitude will get you back into this place. Not to, this is not some kind of NLP thing where we're reframing something. I'm not reframing anything. I'm not denying that this is difficult. I'm not denying that this is really painful and awful and difficult, and this is going to be hard to overcome. I'm saying, and it is difficult, and because you will never, ever, ever, ever be challenged without being equally supported. You will never, ever in your life, ever have a situation in the past, in the present, or the future where there isn't light and dark equally at the same time. Not like karma, something bad now and then something good later. Same moment. Right now, at this very moment in your life, there are super challenging things going on, or maybe not so. But if it's that much challenge, it's that much support. Now, most of you will say, oh, there is no support, I can't see it. It's because you're expecting the support to be in a very certain kind of a way, and you'll find that the support and the resources that you have will never ever come in the way that you think, and always in the way you need. So that is the step 3. Support and resources, both internal and external. Once you've gotten your breath into alignment. Secondly, you go into gratitude. And I mean real gratitude. I mean really properly dive in, dig deep. Have you had hot water today? Did you eat food many times a day? Are you safe to walk in the street? Do you have education? Do you know where your next meal is coming from? Really basic, fundamental stuff. You need to dig in there and go, why is actually a heck of a lot still going right? Because this is what your brain loses in that moment. When it swims in the dark part, it goes, everything is terrible, everything is a disaster, it will never ever be good again. You are actively then choosing to go into the light and going, actually, you know, I get that this bad thing is going on here right now, but look, there's so much still going right. And that moment where you can see that it's actually equal is when the next level opens, because they're like little gates. I want you to imagine you're walking from your head into your heart, and every time there's a moment of balance, the next gate open and the next gate open. So a lot of people say to me, okay, but there's 50,000 things wrong and there's only 5 things going right. The way that you know that you've listed enough light bits, that you've listed enough in your gratitude, is when the gate opens. And that gate is in place in your heart. You will feel a kind of a click or a kind of like that moment. And you know, sometimes that takes, if it's this big on the challenge side, it has to be this big on the light side. It might take you a couple of days before you can see that actually the balance is always right. If you don't feel it's equal, then you're not done yet. Then you cannot move on to the next step. Step 3, I've already told you about, is where is the support and the resources, internal and external. So you'll find that as soon as a challenge comes in, whoop, there's a support right there. Certain friends, certain elements, certain things will come out of the woodwork and balance you out in that perfect moment. Joseph Campbell, amazing work he did about the hero's journey. I'm going to post in the comments below. There's a beautiful, beautiful TED video about the hero's journey. And he also says that no matter how big the challenge, you will always, always receive the right support. Both inside yourself, you will feel that the creativity will bubble up, you'll get new ideas, you'll see new things, you'll perceive new things, but also on the outside. Somebody will step in that will support you because, like the railings in a bowling alley, they're not here. The railings are not here to restrict you. They're here to make sure that you move forward. And that actually what looks like restriction, and there's a left and a right, there's a balance and a support, is actually there to line you up with your greatness. Okay? So, breath. When it's in balance, it opens the door. Gratitude. When you're in balance and you can see that you're equally challenged and supported. And also, you're always equal within yourself. You know, if you're beating yourself up about, I can't cope with this, I'm losing the plot, I'm not getting this right. No, there's always light and dark. So if you're in a place where you're beating yourself up about getting this wrong and not coping, write a list about what's light within yourself, because there's as much light as dark within yourself as well. So if you're in a place where light equals dark, click, the next level opens. It's almost like a lock, you know, like click, 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 click. So then the third step is support and resources. Is there as much support? And that might be your pets are supporting you, your children are supporting you. Right now, you can't see right behind me, my kitty cat has snuggled up right up against me. You know, it may come in, virtual support, it may come in real support, it may come in, you know, you feeling supported by a house or a bank account, I don't know, but there is always, 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 always equal amount of challenge and support, because the universe never leaves you without giving you the tools to actually overcome what you're facing. Okay, step number 4. Everybody is doing the best they can. This is a difficult one. So usually our difficulties, 80% of the time, involve other human beings. And sometimes other human beings may have done some things to you that you feel they shouldn't have done. Or maybe they haven't done something that you feel they should have done. But I'm guaranteeing you this, that every single human being on this planet, regardless of whether they emotionally, physically, abused you or did something really super crazy nasty to you, they are doing the best they can with what they perceive, how much pain they're going through, the childhood that they went through, and how all of this shaped them along the way. Because the idea that all of us on the planet have the same amount of IQ, EQ, awareness, mindfulness, empathy is ridiculous. And so when you look at and point the finger at somebody and you go, why did that person do the thing they did? The first answer is because they are doing the best they can. And the same goes for you. If you're not coping all that well, whether you've spiraled out into depression or you can't stop crying in that moment, you are doing the best you can as well. But I guarantee you, there is nobody on this planet that is sitting with some kind of a crystal ball, you know, magically conjuring up some kind of a spell to make you feel awful. Well, it's a tiny part of the population. People that, you know, lie to you, people that abandon you, people that cheat on you, they're really just doing the best they can with what they've got and how they're seeing their life and what, you know, how they can handle themselves and the world around it is really, really important. I'm not getting to that place where you can forgive them. Go watch my other video on YouTube. I did a whole hour of what it actually takes to forgive someone and let go. I don't have time to do this tonight, but please, if you're in that place where you think forgiving is just about willing yourself to forgive, that's absolutely rubbish. Until you can be in an equal state of anger as well as gratitude, because it's light and dark, remember. And you can honestly say to the universe and that person, thank you for giving me the opportunity to grow. You're not done. You will never be done. So go watch the other video on my YouTube. I'll post it in the comments below. All about how to actually forgive and let go. And that's not just willing yourself to do it. All right. Step number 5. It is a beautiful concept called nothing is ever missing. Now, this is the second law of thermodynamics in quantum theory that says energy cannot be created or destroyed. I just forget that bit. I like to explain it that when you're sitting in the bath and you move your legs apart, I'm sure you've done this as a kid, you're trying to move the water to each side of the bathtub. Guess what happens? As you've made a space, like, you know, Noah, the water just came rushing back in. And that's exactly how the universe works. You know, as soon as something leaves your life, something comes in. You might not see that new thing coming in because you're expecting to be it in a form that you just haven't seen yet, you know. But actually, like the cycle of water that goes from rain to vapor to ice, it's just a rejigging of energy. And so one of the things that you need to become very, very aware of, and in my courses and in my workshops and one-to-one, I talk about this in depth and we do these exercises in depth, because until you can see that as much as is leaving you is actually coming in, you will always be hooked into a place of suffering because actually you haven't seen that there isn't any such a thing as loss. There is only transformation. Okay, you know, specifically when something gets lost or a person leaves you or abandons you, something else always steps in. Whether that is this, you know, whether that is in the form of an energy or a person or money or something, as much as steps out, exactly the same amount steps in, just not in the form. Because guess what? That new form is exactly what you need to grow into your next evolution, onto the next step towards your greatness. Because that's how we grow. Things have to leave and new things have to step in, because otherwise how would we grow? It just wouldn't really happen. Step number 6 is the timing. The timing of this particular challenge. You need to come to a place where you look at the facts that although your challenge seems insurmountable, even though you are challenged by it incredibly intensely and, remember, and supported, even though that there's as much going wrong as there's going right, a lot of the times we think, oh, I wish this didn't happen right now to me. But actually, if it's happening, that means it's divine. And if it is divine, then it's here to grow and guide you. And that also means that, if you come to me in a one-to-one coaching session with a really difficult situation, I already know you're the right person expressing, the right reaction at the moment. You're experiencing the right challenge. You've got the right support, and it's happening at exactly the right time. But here's all about the power of questions. You need to ask yourself, why is this the right time? And why is this the right challenge for me right now? Why is this perfectly timed? Because if it's here, that means it's part of a divine plan. And if it's darkness that it brings you, it must bring equal light. And that light is, the support and the learning and the growing and the moving forwards. And that really brings me to step number 7. Step number 7 is the blessing and the opposite. So this in itself is a whole 1-hour video that I did on YouTube, how to find the lesson, the blessing, the message, and the gift in your obstacles. I'll post it in the comments below as well. I don't have time to go over it right now, but every obstacle brings a lesson, a blessing, a message, and a gift. I spoke a little bit about this here. It's all about reflection. So I talk a lot about reflection. So for instance, if you're saying, somebody abandoned you, the first thing you need to look at is how are you abandoning you? Because every challenge and every obstacle has a beautiful, beautiful message inside it. As I said before, go look, there's a 1-hour video on that. I can't go into it now, but this is really juicy. When you understand and you can hear, you can really, really appreciate why this particular obstacle has come to you at this time, with this support, in this way. Then the last thing that you need to do is really manage your mind. Because our mind is, I want you to imagine that your mind is like this wild pony in this paddock, and it just runs around and it bucks and it kind of goes mad and it gets really badly spooked at any moment. And you have two choices, really. You can let it run wild. There's absolutely no problem with it. Or you can kind of snuggle up to it, slowly make friends with it, eventually calm it nicely down and bridle it and put a harness on it. And then ride your pony occasionally, in the sense that, either you can always be at the mercy of your mind, or you can learn to interact with it in such a way that you can use the power of it, that you can really focus it in one direction. And learning to manage your mind, I talk about mental hygiene a lot. It's all about not spiraling out into fear or despair. Basically, not spiraling out into the darkness. That sounds like Star Wars something. Not spiraling out into the darkness, but maintaining that middle place where you can actually then come to a space where I'm at now, when, certainly in my life, because I've done this work repeatedly, and many of you on the call tonight have done work with me and have had experiences of this before. But as soon as somebody steps into a coaching scenario with me in a workshop or one-on-one, I already know that I want you to imagine like I'm in your heart space, waving up at you and going, woohoo, hi. I know it's really upsetting up there, but once you come down into the heart space, you'll totally and utterly understand that the challenge you are facing right now is on track. There is no such thing as off path, not on track. There is no such a thing. Just because challenges are in your life doesn't mean that you're doing the wrong thing. That means that you're being grown and guided towards your greatness. And your job is to do both. Keep yourself safe and see the greater significance of it. When you step into my coaching scenario and you go, it's all bad, the first thing I will say, and I said, where is it also good? Because it has to be light and dark equally. I already know that the challenge you're facing now is completely and utterly perfectly timed, completely on track. It's completely and utterly stretching you and growing you and making you uncomfortable just to the right degree, so that you will grow through this and learn and metamorphosize, if you like. Of course, There is the part that you are feeling in pain and suffering, but that is just a state of mind where you're only seeing half the story. You're only seeing the dark side. And it's my job, by guiding you through step by step back into your heart space, that you know that there is light and dark at the same time. And when you've unlocked every single one of those gates between your head and your heart, then you can be in a place where you can actually lean in, where you can see that everything's on track, you're being supported, you're being guided, the right people have come in, the right resources are coming, you're just in that middle sweet spot. Because if there was only support, you would just get complacent. If there was only challenged, only challenged, then, you would just disintegrate or die. But the universe is making unbelievably sure that you're always in that perfect middle spot. And like the last step says, is your only job is to manage your mind, because that's the only thing that will keep tripping you and cutting off that head and heart connection. And that is all I have for you for today. If you have any questions about this, please ask them in the comments below. I will respond either tonight or in the next couple of days. I hope this gives you an indication of the journey that you need to go on in order to activate your resilience and to reconnect your head to your heart. It's not impossible. It looks like a big job, but once you know how, it's just like riding a bike or driving a car. The more you do it, the more you practice, the more you will be in a place where that connection happens really quickly, rather than really having to go through it step by step by step by step. I'd love to say this is something you can do on your own. Unless you've done a vast amount of personal development, you probably need either a group environment or a coach to help you through this. But these are the exact steps that activate that connection between your head and your heart and bring you into that middle balance where you can actually see that every challenge that comes your way, and every challenge that will ever come your way from now on, whether it's small or large, is perfectly placed, perfectly timed, and you are perfectly supported. And whatever comes up within you is actually the process that you need to go on to grow and guide yourself to your greatness. And that is all I have for you today. A couple of books that I think are absolutely amazing on this topic is Elizabeth Lesser. She wrote a book called Broken Open. Beautiful, beautiful book about how she faced her challenges. There's another amazing book called The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. Also beautiful, beautiful piece of work. How to trust the universe and how to trust that everything is actually unfolding to your highest good. And the third book that I absolutely think is tops is a chap called Ryan Holiday, and he wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way, and this is specifically good on Audible. It's a whole collection of all the amazingly great people throughout history, Amelia Earhart, also Aristotle, big names that have basically all the human beings on this planet that have ever lived and are living, that have achieved incredible greatness, had incredible obstacles, incredible struggles, because at the end of the day, struggles are your entry ticket to greatness, and it's a choice. Maybe after this session with me tonight, you can really understand that, when people say, transcend your victim story, it is a choice. My answer is always yes and no, because until you understand how to make lemonade out of your lemons, it won't be a choice, because the only tool that you will have is reaction. So until you get taught how to respond from your heart and really have both your head and your heart activated, it really isn't a choice. So when I always hear that, the way that you respond is a choice, yes and no, it's only really a choice when you know how. And that is all I have for you tonight. I I look forward to next week's session. Remember to send me your questions either on email or in Messenger here. I'll always get back to you and help you out with whatever you've got going on. It does look like a big job, but you can totally get there, and all you need is a little bit of help and a little support. And make sure you tag somebody in the comments or send it as a message. Perhaps you know somebody that's going through a really, really tough time and needs to hear a couple of these gems that I haven't come up with. These are the tools of the great masters that I have been studying for the last 2 decades now. So this is a collection of all the great works of resilience and human behavior and change management. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on these calls with me, and I look forward to seeing you next week for the next Monday night self-care session. Take care. Bye.